Welcome to The Secrets of Homeopathy, Part 4. Glad to see you back. Perhaps you've noticed that when some people feel compelled to say something but don't quite know what, they say, "Ugh." I've heard that sound a lot lately when presenting the startling evidence for homeopathy to skeptics. I think skepticism is basically a three-legged stool. Doubt is a product, basically, of ignorance, facilitated by a lack of information from those who are in a position to know or know better. It's the fault of those in the practice of the doctrine, the homeopathic physician. These are the people who are failing to inform the public of the amazing research that has been done in their behalf. Well, I'm here to correct that problem. In Part 3, we presented up to 1952 much of the long-awaited references for evidential homeopathy, studies of the actions of high dilutes on non-human subjects, the effects of homeopathy on plants and animals, and physical studies such as optical density measures and dielectric stress measures, puncture voltage, facts that destroy the common misperception that homeopathic remedies are placebos. Well, we can see a pattern beginning to develop here. Using our own experience as a clue, it would appear that due to the obscurity of this information, every few years some poor research fellow comes along and believes that if he could show the effects of high dilutes on non-human subjects, then he will have proven that homeopathy is something to the scientific world and earned himself the Nobel Prize for finally incarcerating this magnificent doctrine within the annals of science. But, unfortunately, that never happens. Each study that reports success, no matter how elegant, appears to have been discredited, ignored, scoffed at, and relegated to the nearest dustbin, or simply laid aside and forgotten. Something of a tragedy, I think. I've had a large number of responses to my videos, mostly from skeptomaniacs. The few people, however, whom I have seen try homeopathy, all seem to get better, especially notable in cases where traditional internal medicine, using the heavier pharmacy of patented petrochemical synthesis, has failed to put to rest long-standing complaints. I have yet to hear from more than a couple practicing homeopaths, which is too bad. It's understandable that people are confused about the principles of homeopathy. There is a reflexive skepticism to it, which has engendered some misconceptions about it, which could and should be corrected by practitioners and the industry. These lectures should be required viewing for biochemists and biologists, and all medical practitioners. If you have a doctor, insist that he watch these videos. Failing to do so puts him in peril of his license or practice of real medicine, and the future loss of income and clientele, and perhaps a malpractice suit. Now, for the sake of everyone's health, objections to homeopathy need to be met head-on with the scientific research that we do have. And I really can't emphasize the importance of this information, because evidential homeopathy shows the capabilities of high dilutes in providing a safe alternative for vaccinations as a means of combating bioterrorism. Yeah, by the way, that's right. You can actually, it's been proven by the National Health Institute, that you can actually immunize using high dilutes. Immunize. Everybody's crying about all the autism that they think that that vaccinations are causing. And we could also use this as a means of combating bioterrorism and treating mysterious diseases. Now, according to Professor Emeritus William Tiller, head of the Material Sciences and Engineering Department at Stanford University, he says it is clear we are going out of the age of chemical and mechanical medicine and into the age of energetic and homeopathic medicine. Thank you. Well, I don't know if he actually has an accent, but that's what he said. Now, whereas my detractors cry for the science they cannot see, here is what is really bizarre. Now, perhaps it's just a coincidence, but the most strident critics of homeopathy are all atheists. Will I? You know, notice they say that too. People say that, go, will I? It suggests to me that there is more to hard science than just facts and figures. There is also psychology, the inability to sense what is observed, the inability to make sense of what is observed. You know, for some people, it is impossible to view an inexplicable process and apply it. Although that's essentially what happens with radiation, gravity, magnetism, heat, light, and women. How pathetic. Sometimes the evidence for something just cannot be accepted by people, not because it lacks credibility, not because there's facts that can be analyzed, but simply because they are incapable of accepting it. The most common error made by the critics of homeopathy is in stating that there have been no scientific measures made of the action of high dilutes. But when it is pointed out that there are indeed scientific studies, some of which are presented in my previous videos, to maintain their position, these skeptics have to raise the bar and say, well, there aren't any credible scientific studies. They'll say that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but look who's making the extraordinary claim here. You know, I beg your pardon, but it's the skeptics, the skeptomaniacs that are making the extraordinary claim here, and they're the ones that should be coming up with the extraordinary evidence, not me. But that's who's doing it. Well, then they, you know, after I do that, then they suggest that there aren't any peer-reviewed blind studies. No, there aren't any peer-reviewed blind studies, double-blind studies, there's no triple-blind studies. Quadruple blind. Yeah, well, peer-reviewed means that other scientists have reviewed it, okay? And double-blind means the tests were performed in such a way as to rule out any unconscious bias, meaning you have to first kick out all the atheists out of the room, okay? Then when you show them a peer-reviewed double-blind study, they complain that it's too old to be of value. Well, this is typical, much like trying to give a hyperactive child a haircut. What's troubling about this is that the critics of homeopathy become infected with the very problem that they're complaining about in others. An unconscious bias against the subject that they're addressing that prohibits them from accepting information about it that they formerly thought didn't exist, preventing them from investigating the phenomena of homeopathy with an open mind. Highly prejudicial. You can't be objective if you're prejudiced against the results. And many people are, because there is no physical theory for the action of homeopathic remedies. And they then are forced to pit theory, their theory, against the fact that's brought out by research. And for some reason, the homeopathic industry is not presenting the compelling, if not stunning, scientific facts that it does have that falsify the placebo theory, that high dilutes don't have any action. Case in point, the comprehensive and elegant reporting in the biochemical and biological evidence of the activity of homeopathic remedies by Scottish doctor William E. Boyd, MD. Now, if you were to ask me, John, what is your favorite study of all the studies that show evidence for the action of high dilutes? Which one best provides you with evidence that homeopathy isn't a placebo? And I guess I would have to say, without a doubt, the incredibly comprehensive work of Dr. Boyd. Join me in part 5 of The Secrets of Homeopathy, where we take a look at this amazing report. The newly rediscovered evidence for homeopathy, the biological and biochemical evidence for homeopathy by William E. Boyd, MD. Thank you for watching. Meet me again at part 5.
Love, John.